It's over. The illustrious career of Diego Godín has finished. The captain, the Uruguay captain for so many years, has decided to hang up his boots. And at this moment in time, the emotion that prevails is one of gratitude to have seen a player of his capabilities, of his stature, of his allure, pull on the Uruguay shirt and to represent Uruguay worldwide. And this is what he's done exceptionally well. We can we can narrow our view to the last 2, 3 years when things weren't great, but that will be foolish. At this moment in time, the only thing we should do is to look back at the brilliant career of Diego Godín. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. So Diego Godín, the funny thing about him is that he came up through the advanced Sporting youth ranks, and he was a number 10. He was a player that wanted to score goals, wanted to be creative. But eventually he was cut out of the Defensa Sporting youth squad, even questioning whether he should continue playing football. But then he was snapped up by Cerro, Club Atlético Cerro. And in this team, in this club, his coaches were basically trying to adjust his position because they saw something else in him. Eventually, when injuries and suspensions allowed the opportunity for this, he played center back, and this is where he remained for the rest of his career, and where he developed into one of the best defenders around the world. And yeah, so he played for Cerro a few years, then he went to Nacional, and then soon after this, European clubs came looking, and he went to Villarreal. Villarreal at that moment in time, a brilliant team with, for example, Forlan playing, Riquelme playing there, making deep runs into European football, doing really well in La Liga. And Godin came into this team, and after an adaptation period, he immediately, after an adaptation period, he kind of gradually came into the team. And when he came into the team, he was never really questioned anymore because his qualities were clear. Uh, he was not the finished article, obviously, still being a young boy, quite skinny. He's never been the biggest, but back then he was a lot skinnier than I think he was when he went to Atlético Madrid. But what stood out for him is his impeccable timing when it comes to defending. It's his incredible aerial game, while not being the tallest. His good reading of the game, which is exceptionally important, or how do you say it's for him it was probably more important than for other players because he's a player that is not the quickest, not the most physical. So his timing and his intelligence in reading the game had to be top notch. And regarding this quality, I think there are not many players in the world who were better at this than him during his career. And yeah, that's why he was a player that attackers hate to play against because probably when you look at him and when you step on the field, you say to yourself, "Well, this is not this should be a good day for me," you know. But it was never the case because Godin is a true warrior, and a street artist, I would say, a pure old school defender who mastered the dark arts of defending. And of this type, there are not that many players anymore compared to I think 20, 30 years ago. The emphasis in defenders lays more on the building up of the game, possession-based game. And although Godin is not terrible at this, I'm not saying he's the best, but for example, look at the 2018 World Cup. Godin was really well at building up plays for Uruguay. He was so comfortable on the ball, very confident. So it's not like he's not capable of doing this. But obviously, he is not this type of defender. He's also not the type of defender who will make vertical or diagonal passes and switch the play onto the left wing. This is not the type of player he is. He keeps it simple, keeps it in his range of capabilities, but he's effective. And regarding defensive capabilities, it's the same. He's not flashy. You cannot make a highlight reel from him. I think Eamon Dunphy, I think he's an analyst in Godin. He said, you might not be able to make a highlight video of him, but he's a damn good defender. I mean, he said something along those lines, but he really hit the nail on the head with that statement because this is true. If you wanna value the Godin, you have to watch all 90 minutes. You don't have to be watching highlight videos uh, of the game or of his career because Godin is a player you're gonna really appreciate when you watch all 90 minutes and you see all the dirty work he's doing, all the important headers he's winning, the important duels, and the way he really masters his own box, his own area. And this certainly, when he went to Atletico Madrid, he got better and better in this, being comfortable on the back foot and trying to limit all the opportunities of the opponents. And as the leader of the Atletico Madrid defense, he was the absolute master of this. Um, yeah. So his career, I mean, I mentioned Villarreal, Atletico Madrid. At Atletico Madrid, he won a fair share of silverware, European trophies, um, also the Copa del Rey in, I think it was 2012, 2013. But then obviously also La Liga winner in 2014, the most glorious day of his club career when he scored his header in the Camp Nou, which sealed the title for Atletico Madrid, which I think it was 19 years ago. I mean, it's around this type of age gap. It was a long time for for Atletico de Madrid, and he brought them this title. And unfortunately, he couldn't bring them the Champions League in the same year. He scored the goal in the final, but we all know what happened. The late goal from Ramos, and Madrid went on to win the game. But in these years, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, Godin was an absolute crucial part of this Atletico de Madrid team who went on deep runs in the Champions League. And yeah, in these years, he was really on top of his game. He was really arguably the best defender in world football, but if not, one of the best defenders. And he was rightly named in many team of the seasons of the Champions League. Although these type of teams are often not really based on merit, it's still nice to see that he was in this team. And he really deserved it to be in this team, by the way. I think it was 3 times he was in this team in the 2014, 16, and 17 campaigns on the top of my head. But anyway, it's yeah, it's his career at Atletico Madrid. The Madrid was really something. In 2018, he left Atletico de Madrid after a really brilliant spell for the club. And then he went to, I'm sorry, 2019 it was, not 2018. He went to Inter Milan. He only played 1 year over there. Wasn't the most successful period of his career. Neither was the one that followed at Cagliari. But still, um, he showed the leader he can be, even at an old age, and was also a factor of Cagliari not relegating eventually. So that was something that is, yeah, it's something. I mean, I'm trying to look for something because we all know the last few years of Diego Godín's career wasn't that great. But you know what? The reality was that physically he deteriorated, and that is the way it is. I mean, it's a shame. We see the same with Suarez, but these are things, natural things of players. But the only thing that I have on top in my head is the brilliant days of Godin, and we saw plenty of them wearing the sky blue of Uruguay. He debuted in 2006, and since then I mean, he has went on to make 161 appearances, more than any other player. Scored 8 goals, including some memorable ones. I mean, we can all remember the one against Italy to help or to lead Uruguay through the next round, to the round of 16 in the 2014 World Cup. He scored some huge goals in the 2018 World Cup qualifiers. I mean, the one against Bolivia in La Paz, which led Uruguay to the win in La Paz after so many years. But besides the goals, because obviously, although these are brilliant moments, he is obviously the defender, the leader of Uruguay, and he has shown this throughout the years for the national team. Um, and what I love the most about his career is, even though he was still doing well, but he was not at the top of his career. in the 2018 World Cup, he really was brilliant. I mean, we all talked about Cavani back then, and if would he have not been injured, maybe we could have gone further. Maybe we could have won. But besides Cavani, Godin was magnificent in this tournament. So strong in defense as ever, but also so confident, so solid in possession. Really taking taking the forward step for us. When things weren't going that great against Egypt in the opening game, he was the one that stood up and tried to keep us going, tried to make something happen. And that tournament, he was also named in the team of the tournament of the 2018 World Cup, which was more than deserved in my opinion. Um, and yeah, it was really a brilliant tournament from him. Um, it was also his third World Cup, and his third World Cup was obviously in 2022. He won the 2011 Copa America. Um, yeah, we would obviously have loved to see him lift another Copa America, but overall, his Uruguay career is one that he can look back on with great pride. And the same goes for his club career. Godin is 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 undoubtedly one of the best defenders Uruguay have had, and certainly on a European level, it doesn't get much better. You know, we had Jose Santamaria, who obviously back in the past won many European Cups with Real Madrid, was a brilliant defender. Paolo Montero was another one that comes to mind. But Diego Godin is right in that level, right in that category. And in terms of captain material, Uruguay have had a long tradition of brilliant captains, leaders, inspirators, and Godin is absolutely one of them. He's absolutely one that belongs in this category as well. And we should absolutely not let the last 2 years, certainly the World Cup, where we all know it probably wasn't fit to play for us anymore. But we shouldn't let this overshadow the brilliant career he's had, the magnificent career he's had, one in which he represented Uruguayan football and the values Uruguayan football has so brilliantly, so magnificently. That is something that I in these days when he retired, when I first heard about his retirement, and when I saw him play his last game against against Huracan for Vélez Sarsfield on the weekend, that is a feeling that really prevailed or came to the surface for me. The gratitude I have to him for what he has done for the national team and Uruguayan football in general over the past 20 years. So yeah, he is now retired, 37 years of age. I see Godin as someone who will go back into football, whether it be as a manager, as an operator. I don't know, but I'm sure he will do this because he obviously is a brilliant character, communication wise as well. He's a really good communicator. Um, and yeah, let's see. I mean, he probably will take some time off, which he has to do absolutely. But I don't. I think in a few years we will see Godin back in a certain capacity. I'm not sure what he's aspiring to do. He's not been really that vocal about this, but we will see. But until then, and right now, what we have to do is thank him, appreciate his career, and because it's quite rare to see a Uruguayan be such a prominent player on the world stage like he has been. Um, so yeah, yeah. Gracias, Capitan.